Devil's Liminal. This one I was really interested in. This one, weirdly, my wife was like, hey, are you playing Devil's Liminal? And I was like, why are you asking? That is a very specific question. Yes? The devs emailed me, and I was like, oh, hell yes, I want to play that game. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. And then just walked away because, I don't know, my wife has infinite video game knowledge. But we go! I guess let's check preferences. Actually, see what we got. Alright. Ooh, I like that. Let's put that on the left, because I do have a tendency to click. No skip mode. I simply hate vibration. It makes my little baby hands hurt. Text speed go brrrr. Oh, we can set an auto mode. Alright, interesting. Okay, let's see. What we got? Let's check our volumes here. Alright, not bad. Might need to pull it up a little. Okay.
I get that. Let me see.
Yeah, let's roll this up a tiny bit.
I get that.
Yeah, there we go. That's better. Alright. I don't mind the pixel font. See, I wish I could make it bigger. Ooh, I hate that. Ooh. Oh, I hate that more. Alright. Wow. Truly the opposite problem of being blind, huh? I need the fairy-like distinct shapes. Alright. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes dyslexia fonts are like a little bigger. Not in this case. The little bit extra differentiated shapes. That's a really interesting dyslexia font. I'm curious if we hit credits, if that fonting exactly will be credited. Okay, anyway, that's a really weird niche thing to look into. Alright, early access build of the game. There may be bugs. Alright, here, let's get the content warning up here. Alright. Child abuse, domestic violence, past sexual abuse, gore, violence, body horror, poverty, body anxiety, occult, harm to animals, unreality, derogatory language, and mild sexual content. Here, we'll get this specifically. Alright, instances of violence and injury related to domestic violence, as well as fantastical violence and injury related to the supernatural and occult. It is described and depicted. Alright. Derogatory language, instances of antagonists insulting a character's gender, intelligence, and body size using derogatory language. Infrequent, not treated as a joke. Alright. Alright. Yes. It's already been decided. What you choose does not matter. 1950s. Why did I take a bite of food right then? I don't know. A young man lay in New York snow. Moments before, his face had been smashed in by a tire iron. He could feel the cold on his raw, bruised skin. He swallowed. Blood had collected in his throat from his nose and mouth. It was becoming harder and harder for him to breathe. Would he be able to get up and get home? Would it be the cold or choking on his own blood that killed him first? In this moment, as he tried to ignore the chill climbing up his hands and feet, he thought of his favorite opera. He once managed to sneak in and see it during a Sunday matinee. It opened with an aging man on his deathbed, wondering the value of his work. And in his last moments before death, a demon came to him and promised him a second chance. Oh, I'm missing the big text of Night Shift. Squint. Youth a new life, and a beautiful young woman. As the man thought about the opera, he wondered, if these were his last moments, would a demon come to him? Could he ask for a second chance, a new life? The things he could do if he wasn't trapped by money and circumstance. He woke up. With some difficulty, he sat up and brushed the thin layer of snow off himself. The demon never came to him. 2000s! June 7th, Sunday night. Margot lay in bed. It was weird being back in her old bedroom after 2 years. She hadn't expected how much she would adjust to living in a dorm on the other side of the state, but now it was her home that felt alien to her. She rolled over and examined the art in her walls. Things she'd drawn when she was a freshman in high school. Her old art was a little embarrassing to her, but it did serve as a nice reminder of how much she'd improved. She would be starting college soon. She wondered if one day she would be embarrassed by whatever art she'd made in college, too. Bad news, girly pop. Oh, you will be. Oh. For now, tomorrow would be her first day at work. She felt incredibly lucky to find a summer internship in her hometown. Apparently, they've been having a hard time finding recent high school graduates who are interested in social work. They told her it was the job that people were uninterested in, but Margot thought it might be that people wanted to leave town as soon as possible. Like she did. Her phone started buzzing. The text surprised her. She hadn't told anyone she was home yet. Hey, heard you're back in town. Want to hang out tomorrow? You know what? We'll text back later. Margot yawned. It was late anyway. Wouldn't make much of a difference if she texted now or in the morning. With that, she rolled back over and fell asleep. June 8th. Monday. Oh, it's my cursor. I was like, what's over my head? I guess I got my little forward arrow here. Okay, yeah. Just wanted to test the back thing. Works good. Even though she went to bed pretty early, Margot still felt exhausted when her alarm went off. She lay there for a while, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of the news on television in the living room. After her snoozed alarm went off a second time, she heard her mother knock on the door and walk in. Margot turned to look at her. Are you up for work?
Yes.
Margot didn't really move from the bed. She doubted she was convincing. It's pretty hot out today, over 110.
Oh, in that case, could I get a ride to work?
No, I'm rushing out the door as it is. Once her mother stepped back out, she sat up and started rifling through her dresser drawers for an outfit. She wondered what it'd be like to walk to work. Oh, God. It's miserable. I had to walk from my bus stop to our house once while we lived in Phoenix. So I think it was 110, 112, and it was just like, again, just from my school bus stop home, maybe a block and a half. I don't know. We lived in the fucking boonies. It was down the old dirt road, turned the corner, and then like from down the corner, it was just like our neighbor's land and then our land. And our house was like on the closer corner of our plot. So yeah, probably a little short of like a block. I like fucking barely make it home. I had to like immediately fall like into the bathtub and like just fill it with cold water. 'Cause oh my god. Do not recommend. Margot's work wasn't too far from home. But the Arizona summer heat was oppressive. See? 110? You know it's Arizona. Hot air rippled off the asphalt in the distance. Margot imagined a scene from a Western movie. In the distance, a shape broke the pattern of ripples. There was some sort of heap in the middle of the road. Margot narrowed her eyes in an effort to get a better look. What was it? Was it... Once she realized she was looking at an animal, she rushed forward. She'd only seen a cat outside once before. She knew they wouldn't survive long in this weather. After leaning over to see there weren't any injuries, Margot crouched down to see if the cat was still breathing. The cat's belly slowly rose and fell.
I hope I can move her without hurting her.
Margot knew at a minimum that the cat needed to get out of the road and needed water. Among the businesses near her new job, she remembered seeing a veterinarian office. Margot had never had a pet before and wasn't sure how the veterinarian office worked. Would they accept walk-ins? She took off her jacket and swaddled the animal. Margot hurried to work after dropping the cat off at the veterinarian. She was afraid her boss would think it was a lousy excuse for being late to her first day. Fortunately, she seemed to be understanding. I mean, I guess at least it helps me working in social work, you know. Ideally, there's a little bit of a, empathy. Start of the new day consisted of orientation for the new summer interns and being shown around the veterans' home. It was a retirement home for elderly and disabled military veterans. After lunch and meeting more of the staff, the day was almost over. Margot's new boss waved her over for a chat. I noticed your eyes during lunch. Do you have heterochromia?
Yeah.
Very pretty. Thank you. I don't think I've ever met anyone with heterochromia before. Well, anyway, you're moving to California for college soon? Yes, in August. What do your parents think about you moving so far from home? Oh, it's fine. It's not even that far. Well, I guess depending on where in California. But, like, you know, the valley's not actually that far from Arizona. It's one real boring highway away. You're very pretty. I ended up staying in Arizona for college. I wasn't able to live that far away from my family when I was 18. Oh my god, that's the bullet that I dodged. My parents... Well, I graduated from high school in Arizona. We've lived all over the place. But yes, graduated from high school in Arizona. So my parents wanted me to go to NAU. Jesus. And it was like, what if I went out of state instead? So, you know, I get scholarships to like UNM because we'd been in New Mexico for most of my life. I desperately wanted to just move back to Albuquerque, but alas, not in the cards. I get a scholarship to like UNM. No, but luckily my parents were, or my mother, I suppose, not my father. My father went to school in South Dakota. My mother was an alumni to a college in Colorado, so I was able to, in the very least, get to that school because... But that's where she went! And we still had some family in the town, too. Disgusting. My parents are absolute weirdos. So anyway, I didn't get stuck going to NAU. Yay! And like, we were in Phoenix. Okay, we weren't in Phoenix. We were north of Phoenix. NAU? It's like... You just want an excuse to go up to, like, the cooler part of the state. Disgusting. And, like, we hadn't been in Arizona long enough. Like, I would have still been out of state. I hadn't established residency in Arizona because we'd moved, like, recently enough. So it was stupid. It was stupid. Stupid plan for me to go to NAU. Thank God I didn't. I met my wife in college. Hell yeah. Anyway, enough about me. Back to Margot. Yeah, I've had a lot of friends say that. What do you think you'll study in school? I'm not sure yet. Well, I hope you'll enjoy working in the social services department here. I'm happy to answer any questions about being a social worker. After talking a bit more about the veterans home and the residents, it's time for Margot to head out. Just as Margot reached the doors in the lobby, she felt her phone vibrate. I'm still free if you are. Margot felt flustered. With everything that happened that morning, she completely forgot to text Lee. She started fumbling with her phone to type a quick response. Suddenly, she felt a bump and her phone clattered to the ground.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there.
It's okay. I shouldn't have been standing by the door.
The stranger crouched down to pick up Margot's phone. She handed it back to Margot with a smile. Don't worry about it. Have a good night. Margot quickly shook off the embarrassment and got back to texting. Yeah, sure, let's meet up now. Sorry, really busy this morning and forgot. I can meet up now. Let's meet at the library. It's been a while since we've been to the library in her neighborhood. Sometimes Margot would meet up with her friend Nikki and walk around the desert, then stop at the library to have snacks. On weekends, she would sometimes come alone to read comics. Sitting there again felt nostalgic. Lee arrived a moment after she did. He looked exactly the same as she remembered. Hey, good to have you back in town. Margot smiled at him. He sat down next to her and pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket.
Huh?
I thought you quit. It's hard. Keep starting again when I get stressed. She nodded a little as he lit one. So, where you been the past couple of years? Bunch of different rumors. It's like we were talking one day, then you dropped off the face of the earth. Rumors?
What?
Like what? Lee laughed and rubbed his neck, unsure how to put it delicately for Margot. Just dumb stuff. I wouldn't worry about it. Oh, come on. Let me know. Rather hear it from you than someone else. Mostly stuff like you're some kind of delinquent now. Dropped out, you're pregnant, you're a lesbian, all kinds of stuff.
Seriously?
People are still saying that stuff? Why? Bored losers. There was yelling from the parking lot. Margot and Lee looked up to see what it was. Margot! Margot's mother had pulled up near them. Mom? I've been looking everywhere for you. Let's go!
Okay.
Margot turned to Lee and gave him an embarrassed smile. He shrugged, put out his cigarette on the bench. See you around. They both got up. Lee gave Margot a quick hug. Yeah, see ya. In the car, Margot looked out the window. Margot's mother stared ahead at the road. I've been looking everywhere for you.
What?
What do you mean? You weren't at work. I thought you were busy. You didn't say you were going to pick me up. Well, I was off work earlier than I expected. June 9th. Margot abruptly woke up. It wasn't her alarm, but a phone call that jolted her awake.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Silva? We have an update on the cat you brought in. She was severely dehydrated, but has made a full recovery. Oh, that's great. Were you able to find out if she has an owner? We didn't find a chip. Do I need to pick her up then? Margot didn't know what to do. She couldn't keep a cat. Normally, yes, but we can't find her.
What?
Margot wondered if she was still asleep. We still need you to come in and pay for her treatment. What do you mean? How did you lose her? Ma'am, either way, her medication costs money. Okay, I'll pay for it when you find her. Margot hung up and rolled back over to sleep until her alarm went off. Then there was a knock at her door. Her mother walked in. Are you up for work? She would not be able to wait for her alarm. Yes. It's pretty hot out today, over 110. Margot pulled her sheet up further as though she'd be able to squeeze out a little more rest that way. Same as yesterday, huh? Do you want a ride? Sure. All right, tell me when you're ready. Her mother sighed. You really need to learn how to drive. My mother was also blind, but never seemed to accept that, just because she was illegally driving, that, maybe I'd have a little trouble getting a license. And also, maybe I didn't want to fucking die in a metal death machine as me and my shitty eyes hurtled it down the road. Just saying. Just saying. When Margot arrived at work, Erica sat her down for a quick meeting. I did some thinking last night on what I'd like you to work on. I think it'd be a good idea for you to help me organize the resident files. She gestured over to the filing cabinet, cartoonishly stuffed with files poking out from open drawers. Obviously, the information in them is confidential, but take a look at some of the documents. I think seeing some of these files will give you a better idea of what the residents are like. Then, maybe you can spend some time with them.
Sure.
Where do you want me to start? Erica set about showing Margot the files and what needed to be done. Once Margot got into the rhythm, Erica stepped out and left her alone in the office. Margot was glad it'd be a quiet day. She realized she felt nervous about the prospect of talking to residents. What would they have to talk about? A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts.
Hey!
Excuse me?
Oh,
Margot looked up and put on a professional smile. How can I help you? I'm trying to find my grandma's room, 203. That's up on the second floor. Yeah, that's how room numbers work, but thank you. Want me to show you? Yeah, sure. They walked up the elevator and rode to the second floor. This dithering looks really nice captured, doesn't it? It actually works really well on various resizes. I'm just sitting here. I usually keep an eye on my stream on an iPad. I'm just turning it back and forth. I'm ooh, look good big, look good little. Well, well, well. Margot couldn't help looking at her. And even my ittiest bittiest OBS preview, it still looks quite good. Didn't we bump into each other yesterday? Margot realized she'd been staring and quickly turned away. Yeah. Sorry about that. Don't sweat it. You start working here recently? Haven't seen you before. Yeah, I started yesterday. I'm just here for the summer. Ah, cool. Well, I'm planning on having lunch here. Want to sit together? Okay.
sure.
Yeah!
Lunch! Margot wasn't sure if the girl was serious about her lunch invitation. Worst case, she figured she could sit by herself and do some drawing. After grabbing her tray, she looked around. There were various other visitors and staff scattered around. Sure enough, she saw the girl sitting at the table in the corner of the room. That's who the auto looks like. The girl looked up and waved at Margot. Margot walked over and sat across from her at the table.
Hey, Margot! I wasn't sure if you were gonna join me. I came by to visit my grandma by myself today, so I was kind of dreading having lunch alone. She usually likes to nap around noon.
Hey,
What's up?
what's your name?
Oh, sorry. I got ahead of myself.
The girl extended her hand out to Margot. They shook. Margot felt something like deja vu.
I'm back. I'm staying with my mom for the summer, so I'm trying to find people to hang out with.
I get that.
Beck's a cute nickname. Oh yeah, you mentioned you're just here for the summer too? Yeah, just graduated from high school. Now I'm working until college starts. Me too, helping my mom with work. I don't know if that counts. Sure it does. So your grandma lives here? What does she do in the military? She was in the Army Nurse Corps. She's pretty cool. They chatted for the rest of lunch. To Margot, Beck seemed so animated and excited to meet her. As they talked, Margot started to feel a little less afraid of being home. Margot knew she was asleep, but she still felt present, aware. Was this a lucid dream? She'd read about them before, but she couldn't remember if she'd ever had one before. She sat up in her bed. How funny. The first time she has a lucid dream, and it takes place in her bedroom. A girl sat at the foot of Margot's bed.
Listen,
She didn't recognize her.
I need your help.
My help? What's going on?
I am trapped. I'll show you how to help me.
Why me?
June 10th, Wednesday morning. Margot woke up groggy. She wondered why she rarely felt rested and awake in the morning. Maybe this time it had to do with that strange dream? She rolled onto her back and stretched out. Reaching out her hands, she felt something. What? She looked up to see a cat curled up in the corner of her bed. She was the same one from earlier in the week. The cat that the veterinarian somehow lost. How are you here? The cat stared back. From the expression on the cat's face, Margot half expected her to respond. But instead, Margot was left trying to fill in the blanks for how she ended up in her room. Her parents had a strict no-pet rule. She doubted her mother would have a sudden change of heart. They don't have a litter box or cat food. She didn't know anything about taking care of a cat. She reached out to stroke the cat's back. The cat bobbed along with her hand. But I can't just leave you outside again. Margot's mother started knocking on the door, startling both Margot and the cat. Margot turned to the door, feeling herself panic. How would she explain this? The doorknob turned and her mother walked in. Are you awake? Margot tried sitting in front of the cat to buy herself time. Yes! Let me know when you're ready. Her mother turned and left. No reaction to the cat. Margot sat there, stunned and confused. There was no way just sitting up more actually hid the cat. She turned around to check on her. Nothing was there. Shaping up to be another quiet day at work. Margot sorted through the files and, after a while, found herself creating little stories about each resident. She noticed how much their examinations varied. Some residents seemed to only be limited by physical complications. Others struggled with drawing a clock or knowing what day it was. After a while, she went from imagining what each person was like to imagining what she would be like in old age. Is there any way to predict something like that? She didn't really know her grandparents or how they might have passed away, so she couldn't make any guesses based on that. It felt overwhelming. She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. She shouldn't think about this. She closed the file and stared ahead for a moment. In her bag, there was a dull buzzing noise. She grabbed her phone and flipped it open. There was a text from Nikki. Why didn't you tell me you're back? I had to find out from Lee. I didn't know you still talked to him. Margot felt her stomach twist with guilt. Nikki was right to be mad. She briefly wondered when Nikki would have run into Lee. Okay, the auto makes the texts go a little quick. Alright, yeah, we could go to the mall. Assuming that our mom would let us, because it seems like we're a little, controlled. Great, I'm excited. After work, when Margot got home, she thought about her conversation with Nikki. She realized she hadn't really checked her messages, email, or anything since she got home. She had no idea if any old friends had been trying to reach her. She logged in and scrolled through some updates. A lot of it seemed to be about trips to beaches and lake houses, dorm shopping with parents. She felt a small pang. When she glanced at her new messages, there was a message request. She didn't recognize the name, but she couldn't help being curious. Whoa, okay, fast.
How?
Helen, is your dad Victor Silva? I think we might be related. Margot reread the message. Then her gaze shifted to the name and image. She kept trying to figure out who this woman could be. If anything about her was familiar. Nothing came up. Maybe she could ask her mother? She wanted to get something from the kitchen anyway. In the living room, her mother was on the couch. Her mother anxiously leaned forward in her seat as she watched a show on the television. Yeah, I don't know. Something about moms got me nervous. I don't know if it's just, my own CPTSD, but... Something about moms got me nervous. Something about moms got me nervous. It was a VHS recording her mother made of a soap opera episode. Hey, Mom? I have a quick question. Her mother waved her hand at Margot and paused the show. You know I'm watching my show. It only takes 45 minutes. She hit play again, signaling that the conversation was over. Margot continued to the kitchen. Feeling pretty tired, she put together a sandwich. She carefully inspected the bread, making sure ants hadn't gotten to it yet. After eating it in the kitchen, she quickly washed up the dishes and went back to her room. Thinking about the message, the cat, the text with Nikki, Margot started drifting off to sleep. She heard a loud sigh and the kitchen sink running as her mother rewashed the dishes. Margot, hurry up. Come to the living room. Margot instantly woke at the sound of her mother's voice. What's going on? I need to tell you something very important. Okay. Margot threw her clothing on as quickly as possible, wondering what could be so urgent. She rushed out of her room. What is it? I won't be here tonight, so be sure to lock up and turn off the stove before you go to bed. Oh, okay. What's up? You didn't worry about that. While walking to the veterans' home, Margot wondered where her mother could be going that night. Her mother had never spent the night out before. Her parents didn't really have friends they'd visit. What if she started dating? But it had only been a couple of months. She needed to stop thinking about that stuff anyway. She noticed a bush down the road rustling. There had been construction lately, and Margot didn't want to find out if there were scorpions around. She quickened her pace. As she passed the house, she heard a noise. A faint meow. She turned around and saw a familiar friend in the middle of the sidewalk. You're everywhere, aren't you? The cat came up closer to her. Margot kneeled down to scratch her head. You keep running off. You live around here? The cat stared. Maybe I shouldn't expect a response from a cat. Margot stood back up. I'll see you later. I need to get to work. The cat lay down in the middle of the sidewalk, staring at Margot as she walked away. Margot looked out the window. It looked a little overcast, so Margot decided to go for a walk during her lunch break. Now in the surrounding neighborhood, there was an abundance of oleander bushes in front of the homes. She remembered when she was little and being cautioned about how dangerous the plant was. There was so much from her childhood she couldn't remember. The most random bits and details would occasionally surface. She'd forgotten the faces of any of her old friends. But she remembered begging her mom to let her cross the street when walking to her bus stop so that she could avoid even accidentally touching oleanders. She briefly thought about the weird things happening since she got home. That girl in her dream. That cat that seemed to disappear and reappear out of nowhere. Margot's phone started vibrating in her pocket. Margot pulled out her phone. Hey, you free after work today? I think so. What's up? We could hang out at the park or something. Sure. Why not? Great. See you then. With another activity planned and a potential new friend, Margot was happy that the week seemed to be turning around. Margot sat down in the lobby and texted Beck that she was ready to head out. I'll be there soon. Margot briefly wondered if Beck might not show up at all. Why did she think that? After a while, her phone buzzed again. In the parking lot. Convertible. Margot quickly picked up her bag and headed outside. Beck was parked in a spot near the entrance. When Margot spotted her, she started waving her over. Margot walked over and got in the passenger seat. It was a little older and dusty, but cozy with just 2 seats. Seeing Beck's car reminded Margot that she dreamed of getting her own convertible if she ever got a driver's license. She felt a little jealous.
Hey.
Ready to go? Beck flashed a big grin at Margot. She looked at Beck, examining her own reflection in her sunglasses. Feeling a little sweaty and tired from the workday, she felt out of place in what she considered her dream car. Noticing her expression, Beck took off her sunglasses and gave Margot a curious look. Everything okay? Sorry, I realized I'm a little tired. I'm ready. All right. After driving for a bit, Margot noticed they weren't in her neighborhood anymore. She assumed they were going to the park down the street. Have you been to the Colorado River?
Yeah?
Figured we could hang out there. Beats looking at the dead grass at the park here. Sure, as long as we're not actually going in the river. Beck laughed. No. Would have warned you to bring a swimsuit in that case. Once we were out of the residential area, Beck turned on the radio. It was set to the only classic rock station that reached their town. Did you grow up here? Yeah. Only left for a couple of years for school.
Cool.
I lived here when I was a little kid, but then my parents started moving around a lot. My mom moved back to be closer to my grandma. Guess now that I'm off to college, she wants to be around her. Yeah, that makes sense. Kinda surprised by how much it feels the same as I remember. Wow, I'm impressed you remember all that from when you were little. I only remember bits and pieces. I have a pretty good memory. Since you were gone for a while, feel any different being home? I think we're gonna have to be honest and say it's been hard. Not used to living at home anymore. It's been kinda hard. Feel like I'm waiting around for my life to start again when I move away. Well, hopefully getting out of the house today will help a bit. Maybe. They parked at the nature reserve and picked a well-worn trail near the water. Forgot there were nature areas like this. It's all desert in town, you know. Yeah, I really like it out here. By the way, are you not much of a swimmer? Why do you ask? Beck smiled lightly. He seemed worried about it earlier. Margot felt embarrassed. I'm not a strong swimmer. Maybe I could teach you. They walked for a bit, with Beck stopping at each new sign about the local flora. Her face seemed to lighten up as she eagerly looked around to find each plant. She crouched down, closely examining a cluster of flowers. Margot, look at this one! Margot crouched down beside her. It was an unfamiliar white and purple flower. Datura? Is it another kind of paintbrush flower? Nope, this is a pretty rare one. An Arizona passion flower. Like passion fruit? Yep. I'm surprised this is here. It only grows in a different part of the state. Huh. Wonder how it got here. Only the plant knows. Wish I brought a camera or something. I could draw it. Really? Margot took out her sketchbook and made a quick gestural drawing. Beck watched. Can't believe you can just do that. Margot smiled. After a bit, they emerged from the grown-over area to a bit more curated park with a snack stand. The area was pretty packed. Most of the seating seemed to be taken, and the stand had a long line. Margot suddenly felt aware of how late it would be getting, and wondered if her mother would be upset if she came home late. I'll get us something. The area was pretty full. Empty Ramadas were in low supply. I can find a spot to sit. Is that okay? Yep. Good luck out there. Margot handed Beck some cash for her half and wandered off to find a spot. After a moment, Beck came back. She handed her the extra change. Good eye. I didn't see this bench. She patted Margot's shoulder. Oh, I want to see your drawing again. Sure. Margot pulled out her sketchbook and laid it open for Beck. I can't believe that took you, what, minutes? Beck watched as Margot flipped through her sketchbook.
Do you want to be an artist?
I think so. Maybe I could do comics or something.
That would be so cool. What kind of comics?
Probably something supernatural. Ghost and stuff.
It felt so easy to spend the afternoon with Beck. Margot wondered if Beck might think Margot was being too friendly with her. After a bit more exploring, they headed back to the car. The night air during the drive felt refreshing after spending the afternoon in the sun. An interview with a band played on the radio. When they got closer to Margot's neighborhood, the familiar sights made her snap back to reality. Margot? Can we park at the shopping center and walk to my place? No problem. The neighborhood felt completely still. It felt like the only noise was their footsteps. Margot looked at Beck. She seemed deep in thought. What you thinking about?
Hey.
What's on your mind? Beck was looking up at the sky. The stars aren't like this in the rest of the country. Margot looked up as well. She hadn't noticed before, but the sky was bright with stars. She wondered how it would compare to the sky over her future school. You haven't lived in another state before, right? No, my private school isn't that far away. Do you think you'll miss Arizona when you move? I don't know yet. I'll miss my friends, but I can text them. You probably have a boyfriend, right? Would you have to do long distance? Margot blushed. Why did she feel nervous about Beck asking her that? I don't. Really? What about you? Yeah, it just didn't work out. Do you have a boyfriend? That's not really my thing. Dating? There was a loud yowl and hiss at their feet. Beck leapt away. Shit! Go away! Go away! She scrambled to scare away the cat in front of them. Beck's efforts were rewarded with more hissing. Oh, that's my new friend. No, I hate it! Ooh! She kept waving her hands at the cat and almost getting scratched. Hey, I think if you just relax, she'll stop. Beck seemed to be near tears. Make it go away! Margot kneeled down next to the cat. She couldn't stand by while both Beck and the cat were getting more and more agitated. Hey, you. The cat leaned in to rub her face on Margot's hand, but still growling. I need you to be nice to Beck, okay? Margot picked her up and scurried to the side of the other side of the road. And scurried to the side of the other side. To plop her on the sidewalk there, the cat sat down and rolled onto her side, staring at them. Margot returned to Beck, who was breathing deeply. I think we're safe now. I barely believe you. They walked another block with no cat in sight, and Beck eased up. Well, I'm sorry for ending the night on that note. It's fine. Oh, I thought of something. Do you like museums? I love museums. There's some local ones we could go to. Check out some pioneering tools, that sort of thing. Margot smiled at her. I'd like that. Beck stopped for a moment. She looked at Margot with a nervous expression. She glanced down.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Can I hold your hand?
Oh no, now I'm a little, The cat reaction has me a little off, but Margot wanted to be excited, but Margot looked around. I hope I didn't assume too much. Margot looked at her. No, it's not that. They were at the end of her block, close enough to see her home. She noticed the lights were off and remembered her mother was out for the night. But what if her mother was home after all? Margot remembered the couple of times friends did come near the trailer. Afterwards, her mother would scold her about the culture shock of seeing it, or start asking who they were and if Margot was trying to sneak them into her room. What if her mother was home but kept the lights off? It wouldn't have been the first time. Oh yeah. Never mind. This is my lived experience here. Ugh. Margot frowned to herself. I don't know if my mom is home or not. She said she'd be out, but maybe she came home early. Beck looked disappointed. I understand. They stopped in front of Margot's. So this is your place? Margot wasn't sure what Beck would think, seeing that Margot lived in a trailer. Yeah, sorry for making us walk. It's fine, I get it. You're embarrassed of me. No, it's nothing like that. I'm just not sure if my mom is home, but has the lights off. Beck repeated Margot's statement to herself. Home, but with the lights off? Margot nervously wrung her hands. I'm sorry for being weird. Beck shook her head and smiled. Not at all. Thanks for walking me home. Thanks for saving me from wild animals. She stood there for a beat, looking at Margot. All right, I'll say bye. Margot smiled. This was really nice. I thought so too. Text me when you get home? Of course. After a moment, Beck nodded and turned to walk away. Margot watched her before hopping over the fence. Margot walked inside and locked the sliding glass door. She felt a sudden jolt of fear. What if her mother was home? It was already a huge risk just talking to Beck outside. But it remained quiet inside. Her stomach growled. She forgot about having dinner. Realizing how hungry she was, she went to the kitchen to see if there was anything quick she could make. When she opened the cabinets, they were all empty. She checked the pantry for paper plates, but couldn't find any. Margot sighed to herself. She turned the lights back off and stood in front of the glass door. She looked at the stars in the sky. She rubbed at her palm, wondering what Beck's hand would have felt like in hers. Friday morning. When Margot checked the living room in the morning, her mother wasn't there. The dishes were still hidden away. Unsure what to do for breakfast, Margot decided she could get something on the way to work. All morning, Margot had been sorting files. The process already felt automatic to her. Erica walked into the office as Margot finished up the last file from her current stack. Margot, would you be interested in meeting some of the residents?
Yeah.
Of course. This floor has some great folks. It's mostly people who chose to live here because of health problems. Oh, I see. They spent some time walking around, Erica introducing some of the residents. There were 2 women who were medics in World War II, some men playing cards. Margot made a mental note of the information about everyone. After a while, they returned to the office. Margot continued sifting through paperwork and noticed her phone buzzing. Hey, sorry it's been a while. Want to see a movie tonight? I'm gonna go with not tonight. We're still waiting to see the Nikki. We haven't heard a when from them yet. Please, I want to catch up more with you. Oh, we're gonna cave anyway. Margot stood in the theater lobby, shifting her weight from one foot to another. Looked like she arrived before he did. Where was he? She scanned the room, slowly becoming more and more stressed about being there alone. Margot, hey! Margot turned around, surprised to hear Jade's voice. They had class together before Margot had left. She forgot Jade worked at the movie theater. Hey, how are you? I'm great. Jade pointed at her badge. I'm a manager now. In fact, Manager Jade. Whoa, congrats! Yeah, kind of a shame I have to quit when I go to college. Speaking of, I thought you already left. Sort of. Working here for the summer. Oh, cool, where? Veterans Home. Heard it was hard to get a job there. Yeah, that's pretty lucky. Well, it's through a state program. Before Margot could tell Jade more, she heard someone else call her name. Early as always, Margot. I thought you might just be late. He rolled his eyes, his hand reaching in his pocket for his wallet. Jade, can I get 2 tickets for Evening at the Zoo, too? Evening at the Zoo? Yeah, 2. Please? I don't have anyone else to see this movie with. Margot sighed, defeated. Lee was not great at accepting no as an answer. They went into the theater room. It was empty. The movie had already been out for a while. Lee picked 2 seats in the center near the back of the theater. As Margot sat down, Lee stretched his arms out. His hand came to rest on Margot's shoulder. They sat in silence for a while as the movie played. Lee seemed to be thinking about something rather than paying attention to the movie. He cleared his throat. Did your dad die? Margot immediately felt her heart racing. She wasn't ready for that kind of conversation. Where did you hear that? Around town. Margot shifted in her seat. You used to call me and talk about that stuff before you disappeared. She stared ahead at the movie. How do you feel? I don't know. Margot turned to look at Lee. For a moment, they stared at each other. Margot studied his face, trying to understand how he felt. Then he started laughing. I never liked that guy anyway. Margot frowned, moving her shoulder to shake his hand off. Come on, Margot. Not being mean. I want to know if you're okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Her voice was tense. Why don't we watch the movie? We're the only ones here. Doesn't matter if we talk. They both went silent. I think what I miss the most about having you around is that you always held me accountable. What are you talking about? You're the only person who ever said I could leave here, get a nursing degree or something. He moved his arm from behind Margot to his chair rest. You're the only girl who will tell me to shut up. He nervously drummed his fingers. I don't know what I'm getting at. His hand moved to Margot's knee. He started to move further up her leg. She pushed his arm away. What's wrong? Will you quit it? He turned away and folded his arms. They were silent again. Fine. Whatever. I'm gonna have a smoke. He got up. Margot watched him walk down the aisle into the exit. She turned back to the screen. What could she do? She felt the anxiety build up again. Watching the movie wasn't going to help. She pulled out her phone for distraction. After a while, she started to wonder if he was coming back. She didn't care about the movie anyway. She should probably head home, right? Margot got up, retracing Lee's steps out of the room and into the hallway. In the hall, she could hear someone muttering to themselves. Did I go the wrong way? Beck stood by a wall, looking at her ticket. Beck? She looked up and smiled. Oh, hey! Beck gave Margot a coy smile. Out on a date? Margot grimaced. No. Not exactly. Oh, I should let you get to your movie. Beck gave Margot a curious look. Is something wrong? You seem kind of stressed out. Margot waved her hand. I'm just trying to find my friend that I came here with. That doesn't sound good. Do you need a ride home or something? I'll be fine. I don't want to impose or anything. Don't worry about it. She looked down at her ticket. Not excited about this movie anyway. Just didn't feel like being at home. Which movie is it? Evening at the Zoo 2. It's not good. Dang. Well, since you're the artist, I should trust your opinion. Guess it's too highbrow for me. Well, in any case, definitely let me know if you need a ride. Margot nodded. They parted ways as Beck went into the theater room and Margot went into the lobby. Jade was still at the ticket counter, but no one else was around. Jade noticed Margot and waved her over. Hey, did you get my text?
Huh?
Text? Margot pulled out her phone to check. Nothing from Jade. Or Lee. Guess not. Darn. Saw Lee earlier. Think I heard him arguing with someone. Then he told me how pissed he was and he was going home. Margot sighed. Seriously? Yeah. My shift ends in a bit if you want to ride home. Jade smiled weakly at Margot. Yeah, let's ride with Jade. I don't know. I had a little bubbling suspicion with Beck because she's coming off a little too perfect. And then yeah, I don't know. The cat thing. That's a little suspicious. Our cat's a little mysterious and weird. But I don't know. The cat doesn't seem malicious. So, Plus, we saved the cat's life. So, the cat owes us. So the cat was trying to say something. So let's ride with Jade. If you don't mind. Of course. Margot stared out the window as Jade drove. The radio played classical music from a community college radio station. I told Lee that I was glad to see you happy. But then Lee was like, "What about my happiness? First that crazy chick and now you?" Then he left.
What?
Crazy chick? I have no idea. I guess someone yelled at him? He seemed pretty freaked out. Margot rolled her eyes. Probably some other girl he's bothering. Ooh, so it must have been Beck, actually. Yeah, I wouldn't think too much about it. But anyway, enough about him. He went to some fancy private school. What was that like? It was like normal school, but the teachers were helpful. Oh, that is fancy. What about you and band? Oh, I'm gonna be a music major. That's so cool. As Jade chatted about college with Margot, she felt a huge weight off her shoulders. Margot realized this was an unexpectedly nice way for the evening to end. Margot finally had a morning where she woke up feeling rested and ready for the day. Ooh. The one where we didn't spend any time with Beck. She quickly threw on some clothing and went to the kitchen for breakfast. However, in her good mood, she forgot the dishes were gone. After trying every cabinet, she realizes she'd need to ask her mother. Margot walked to her room. She hesitated at the door. She wasn't sure if her mother was still home or awake yet. One of those makes it easier to find dishes, she thought. Margot knocked at the door.
Mom?
What is it? Her mother shouted from the other side of the door. Where are the dishes? You need to use a paper plate. I'm tired of washing dishes. We don't have any paper plates. Yes, we do. Where? What do you need? A bowl and spoon, I guess. There was some rummaging. Then the door cracked open. Her mother held out a paper bowl and plastic spoon. Here. She shook them at Margot. Take it. I'm going back to bed. Margot gave up. None of these conversations were new. But they always felt like they were opening up a fresh wound. No amount of success in the world seemed to be enough to affect her home life. Coming home to the trailer meant she was no one again. Margot took the bowl and spoon. Her mother shut the door. Margot wanted to stomp, to scream. As she walked away, she looked down at the ground beneath her. It was just a wooden board, covering a sunken spot in the floor. She couldn't stomp anyway. She couldn't do anything. She kept thinking about how different things were just a month ago in her private school. How different they will be a couple months from now. She just had to wait it out. God, I feel that. My whole last summer home, it was truly just... Ooh, just keep your head down and soon you never gotta come back. Margot shook her head. She needed to distract herself. She needed to focus on getting ready for work and leaving. If she just stayed focused. Walking to work, Margot noticed the streets were particularly empty. She got to work just to be faced with an empty parking lot. No one was there. She checked her phone. It was Saturday. She'd gotten up early and fought for a bowl, and she didn't even have work that day. Looking around at the empty lot, she felt drained. She thought about what to do. She was already dressed and outside, so she headed to the park. Maybe some time alone would be nice. Margot found an empty spot to sit at the park. She pulled out her sketchbook and flipped to an empty page. Felt a little bit like she was in elementary school again. sitting at recess, hoping someone would come join her. She looked over at the landscape, trying to think of what to draw. Next to her, there was some clattering. The cat had jumped up on the bench. Hey, friend. Margot reached out to pet her, but the cat dodged her hand. She hopped down and started circling the bench, pausing to stare at Margot. Something about the cat's expression unnerved Margot. It felt like a person was staring at her. Do you need something? She continued to run a few feet away, paused to look at Margot, then come back. Do you want me to follow you? Margot started packing her bag and got up. The cat immediately ran ahead. Margot followed. They left the park, going further and further into the desert. After a while, Margot started to worry, looking around for scorpions and snakes. This is a realistic amount of worrying about scorpions in Arizona. You know, don't put on your shoes without shaking them out in Arizona. Just don't do it. Who knows? You know, people be like, you know, it's okay. Mostly they just live in the base of the palm trees. And then you realize that, in Phoenix especially, there is a palm tree fucking every 3 feet. As they kept approaching, she started to make out what it was. The cat stopped beside it, looking at her expectantly. It looked like an old, rusted car from the 80s. On the exterior body, Margot could see holes in it. She wondered if they were bullet holes. The cat pawed at the door. Oh, anything sitting in the desert is going to have bullet holes in it. It's not necessarily there because of the bullet holes. People just like wandering around the desert and shooting shit. Redneck hobbies. Do you have kittens in there or something? It looked so rusty, Margot was skeptical it could be opened. Margot thought of her dream. I will show you how to help me. Margot shook her head. What could be the harm? The cat was frantic, circling around Margot and rubbing on her legs. All right. Something, maybe morbid curiosity, compelled her. She grabbed the handle and tried to force it open. It was stuck, as expected. She put more force into it, bracing a leg against the side of the car. Eventually it opened, sending Margot toppling to the ground. She got up and brushed herself off. The cat had already jumped into the car and was nudging at something. Margot got closer and leaned into the car. A large leather-bound Bible lay in the driver's seat. The cat was desperately pawing at it and meowing. At first, it looked like a normal Bible. Margot picked it up and looked at the first page. Erede sicut Deus. Scientis bonum et malum was written in careful, flowing script. A large, unusual symbol was drawn over the remainder of the page. It was a hexagram with details that Margot couldn't quite make out. She started flipping through it. In the margins, there were handwritten notes. The notes didn't look like they were about the Bible passages at all. Instead, the writing was strange. Origins of the world, recipes for things she didn't understand, instructions on how to deal with creatures she'd never heard of before. It felt terrifying. It reminded her of some books in her father's shed. After flipping for a few pages, the cat yowled. Margot stopped and looked at the notes on the page.
To understand the voice of an animal, you must be bitten by the animal, placed blood on a music box, and while the music plays, the animal will be able to speak if they wish to.
She muttered the instructions to herself, looking between the pages and the cat.
Huh?
Is this
real?
Real? Oh, okay, she was gonna say it. There's just a lot of... The cat stared at her. This has to be a coincidence. There can't be a cat showing me how to make animals talk. I'm trapped. Could it be related? It seemed too supernatural. Even when she was a kid, she was really into the supernatural. Her favorite childhood movies usually involved ghosts, monsters, vampires. She vaguely remembered having a friend who was convinced that Margot was a vampire. At the time, Margot really wanted to believe they were right. It meant she could have a bigger, more interesting life outside of her trailer. She could be whisked away on some grand adventure. She felt embarrassed thinking about that time. Was she really so gullible? Reading the notes in the book. Why did she so desperately want everything in front of her to be real? She stared into the cat's eyes. What if she was just asleep, her head down on a park table, having another lucid dream? What would it mean for her if this was real? Would it give purpose to her life? Margot's bedroom was getting dimmer. She didn't realize how long she'd been lying in bed. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up and rolled onto her back, holding the screen over her face. Tomorrow good for the mall? Sure, what time? Around 12? Okay. Nikki used to be notoriously late all the time to everything. Margot wondered if her habits had changed and when she should actually expect Nikki to arrive. She put her phone down and rolled back onto her stomach, continuing to read through the notes in the book. June 14th. Sunday afternoon. Nikki hadn't changed. It had been over an hour since Nikki said she was on her way. She lived within walking distance, and Margot started to regret not meeting her at her place. Margot texted, but Nikki didn't respond. She considered the logistics. What if she started walking now? She tried sketching, but still felt impatient. She thought about going back inside, but didn't want to interrupt her mother watching soap operas. After a while, Nikki pulled up. Nikki's car was a worn cream color with slightly torn seats. It always seemed to smell like burning rubber. Nikki pushed aside some old fast food trash from the passenger seat. Margot hopped in.
Hey!
Nikki, it's good to see you. Yeah, same to you. They both leaned over to hug. I don't think you'll be impressed with the mall. Why's that? Honestly, it's kinda small. And you can't go by yourself unless you're over 16.
Seriously?
Yeah, they check IDs and everything. I had to go with my sister when it first opened. Speaking of, do you have your ID with you? Margot double-checked her bag. Yeah, I do. It was quiet, but all the stores were open. When Margot looked around, the only other people she saw were employees and elderly couples. I think Sunday morning at the mall is for old people exercise. As long as you're over 16, right? They went into a department store. A coffee place. Nikki was eager to start trying things on. Margot went to look at jeans. Want me to help you find something? Is your size even in this section? I'm good. I found some things over here. After hearing Nikki's question, Margot became more and more focused on the thought of her size. It seemed like the more she thought about it, the more her clothing options dwindled. It was hard to find something. Food court. After some more meandering, they decided to sit down and grab something to eat. They grabbed a small table behind some plants. I'm not sure what to do next. Move out of my parents, sure, but I guess community college? Do you still want to be a teacher? I think so. But whatever, I still have time to think about it. I have some friends in Phoenix who've been talking about renting an apartment together. Ah, cool. Do you know where you're gonna live? Not yet. A dorm? Any roommates? I still need to figure that out. I think there's a website for finding a roommate, but I'd rather just not have one. The mall was starting to fill up. Have you hung out with anyone since you've been back?
Well,
Besides your dirtbag ex. I'm trying to avoid him. Ooh. Yeah, let's mention Beck.
well,
I made a new friend at work. She used to live here, but I guess her mom moved away and then back? Would I know her? Her name is Beck. Beck, like short for Rebecca? I think so. What does she look like? Tall and thin, bleached hair? It doesn't really narrow it down. Oh, I have a contact photo on my phone. Want to see that? Margot pulled out her phone and flipped to Beck's contact info to open the image. Nikki inspected it for a moment. She looks like a model. Like a suicide girl. Oh, that takes you back to the early internet days. Damn. Suicide girls. Holy shit. You hanging out with a suicide girl? Not that I know of. I don't think I know her. Do you know what school she went to? Nope. They went quiet for a moment as they started digging into their food. You still have a lot of pets, right? Yeah. Do you know much about cats? Of course. I found this weird cat the other day. All cats are weird. This one seems to follow me around a lot. And I think sometimes she gets into my room? Isn't there still a hole in your floor? Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe she had kittens under your place. Yeah, I thought about that. Margot worried about how to word the next part. Nikki used to church a lot, and what happened still felt like a wild dream. I feel like she's trying to show me something. Probably the kittens. I mean, like, do cats like collecting stuff? Do they bury their toys? No, you're thinking of dogs. Ah, not true. Cats have little hidey holes. If you have a cat, there is somewhere in your house where they have stashed toys. They're somewhere. Oh, I think this cat's doing that. Probably been around a lot of dogs then. Margot stood in front of her mirror, looking at the jeans she purchased earlier in the day. The mirror had a large crack in it, so Margot had to shift around a bit. She had a pile of shirts sitting on her bed to see what went with which jeans. Looking at the mirror, she thought about her conversation earlier with Nikki. She decided to text Beck. Hey! What school did you go to when you lived here? What if we were in class together, lol? We were in kindergarten. We used to play together all the time. Wait, seriously? Yeah, we were dating. I thought you were a vampire. So it was Beck who thought she was a vampire, and she vaguely remembered kissing someone on the bus. Sorry I didn't mention it sooner. I figured you didn't remember or recognize me. My name is different, and I'm not a 5-year-old boy anymore. Lol. I don't blame you, but I wasn't sure how to bring it up. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's pretty cool that we're friends again. I remember you were my first kiss. You asked me on the bus if I wanted to be your girlfriend. Very romantic. We never talked about breaking up, right? Guess that means we're still dating. Oh, lol, I guess so. We scraped knees one time. Things were pretty serious between us. Feel like I've been thinking more about when I was a kid. Maybe because you're going to college soon to be an adult? That does make sense. June 15th. Monday morning. Margot's alarm hadn't gone off yet, but she felt awake. She tried to move to check her phone, but something was on top of her. The cat was back in her room, sprawled out on her chest. She thought about what Nikki suggested. Was the cat living under her floor? Margot turned her head to look at the gap between the intact floor and the slab of wood covering the hole in her room. Margot had always been afraid of it, thinking that cockroaches would crawl in. In comparison, a cat was much better. Margot remembered the book. She glanced down at the cat still laying on her. Are you here to remind me? The cat stared back. What if the cat really was that girl from her dream? What if she really did need help? Margot thought of the passage in the book. If she could find a music box, she could see what would happen. A music box. And her blood. She was stuck on the idea of her blood being involved in the mix. She didn't know if she was sick or not. She didn't know how to get tested. Margot continued to lay on her back, staring up at the ceiling. In the other room, she could hear her mother watching the news. It sounded like something about a string of grave robberies. Does that actually still happen? Apparently, people in town were worried that it was the satanic cult. Margot thought about the other things she would hear about on the news, like stories about UFOs in Phoenix. Maybe it's just people who want the world to be a more exciting place. Was she any different from them? Margot absent-mindedly pet the cat. What if you can really talk? What would you say? After a while, there was the familiar knock at her door. The cat jumped off her bed and disappeared before Margot's mother opened the door. Are you up for work?
Yes.
I can't drive you today. Okay. You really need to learn how to drive. How? Ask one of your little friends. She left the room. Margot got up and got ready. She realized she needed to ask her mother for help with getting the music box. In the living room, Margot's mother was in front of the television. Mom? Do we have a music box? Why? I read an article about them recently. Oh. Do we have a music box? Check Danny's pawn shop. Who's Danny? There were only a couple of pawn shops around, so Margot figured she could find which one that was. She went to the door, ready to head out. Why not have your little friend in the convertible teach you how to drive? Margot left. After work, it was time to start her pawn shop mission. She stopped by the closest one to home. Margot went inside. The pawn shop had the typical dusty mothball smell of a secondhand store. Around her were cluttered shelves of old cameras and novelty knives in her glass displays. She kept thinking about how cagey her mother was with details. Danny owns a pawn shop. Margot couldn't help but sigh deeply at the thought. He must be the secret boyfriend she's been visiting. Margot didn't want to interact with him, but knew she had to. As she was lost in thought, the shop owner came out from the back room. He had a little "Hello, my name is" badge on his chest with Danny written in. Hey, let me know if you need help finding anything.
Okay.
Thanks. Margot couldn't help but analyze him on the spot. He's not ugly, and he's a business owner. Well, pawn shop owner. There's a little difference. Maybe it's okay? Danny stared back. You look familiar. Have you sold anything here before? There was a pause as Margot mulled over what to say. Oh wait, are you Inez's daughter?
Yeah.
He nodded a bit. She was right. You look nothing like her. Just like the photo, though. Margot wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. Do you have any music boxes? Oh, sure. Anything specific? One that plays for a long time? He nodded and walked down an aisle. After some shuffling, he pulled out a box. Go ahead, see if you like this one. Lady brought it in last week. She brought it in last week and, you're already, selling it off again. Damn. You don't give people a lot of time to, repay, do ya? Whew. The trailer was dark and empty. Margot supposed her mother was out. Maybe with Danny. She went to her room, music box in her bag. She briefly glanced at her reflection in the mirror. Danny was right. She didn't look like her mother. She resented how much she looked like her father. Margot shook her head, trying to focus. She set up a spot on the floor with the music box and Bible in front of her. She eyed the music box. It had a small dancer holding a black sword with an unusual handle. Looked like it might actually be a sharpened piece of metal. The whole box had a handmade quality to it. The cat came up behind her and circled around to sit by the music box. She stared intently. You have to bite me, right? What if I'm sick? What if you're sick? Margot briefly considered the consequences. Tinnitus? Tinnitus? Wrong disease! Could you imagine? Oh shit, I got bit by a cat, now I got tinnitus. Tetanus? An infection? Before Margot could think about it anymore, the cat latched onto her hand, drawing blood. Margot stifled a yelp. Ugh. Holding her bleeding hand, she placed the wound on the dancer's saber. Margot bit her lip, trying to ignore the pain. With the blood in place, she wound up the box. Maybe if she put on hand sanitizer now, it would be okay? She dug into her bag, trying to find the small bottle. A little song started to play. Margot's attention snapped from her bag to the cat.
Is it working?
It was the same voice. This was the girl.
I need you to do one more thing. The steps should be in the book. I need hair from your mother and father, then burn it.
Huh. The music box stopped and she started meowing again. Margot stared, her mouth open. She could feel her mouth going dry.
How?
She looked down at the music box to check if the blood was there. It was.
Were you in my dream?
The cat nudged her on the book, flipping pages. She loudly meowed again. Margot looked at the page.
Hair from parents around the box. Set it on fire.
Margot read the steps over and over. Collect the hair, add more blood, set it on fire. She looked at her hands. She looked at the blood drying on her palm. She wondered if she was okay. Man. It was happening again. The girl was in her room again.
Now you know what to do. One more step to free me.
I'll try to do it tomorrow, but I still don't really understand. You never told me why I need to help you.
Tomorrow.
Huh. Alright. Now everybody's a little sus. During lunch, Margot had a text from Lee. Alright, nobody more sus than Lee, though. Got a call from my new job, so I had to go. Jade had told her that Lee said he had an argument with someone. Was it over the phone? Why are you apologizing now? It's been days. Better late than never, lol. Working at a restaurant, if you want to stop by. Margot put away her phone. Tonight, she had to help that girl. Also, Lee's proven himself a jackass. The trailer was empty. Her mother wasn't home. Margot thought it would be safe to get dishes for herself. She went to her mother's room. In the dresser, she found the bottom drawer stacked with everything from the kitchen. She grabbed what she needed and left. After cooking, she sat on the couch. She wasn't alone. The cat was there watching her. You want me to get the hair? The cat started walking across Margot's lap, making it hard to hold her bowl. Okay. Let me finish eating first. As she ate, Margot considered the next steps. She hadn't really stopped to seriously consider what was about to happen. In the past, Margot had always said yes to anyone and anything. At this point, it was reflexive. She made friends by helping people with their homework when they asked. She got into her private school by accepting an invitation to a gifted summer camp. It always worked out for her. But she had to wonder, what was she saying yes to this time? Why did she feel a pang of guilt from even considering saying no to the girl in her dreams? Margot finished up her food and washed the dishes. She checked her phone in the driveway before heading back to her mother's room. After putting the dishes back in the dresser, she started looking for hair. On the dresser was one of her father's old combs and an old brush. Margot felt herself holding her breath, afraid of making a single sound or wrong move. She pocketed the hair and left the room, careful to make sure everything was the same. In her room, she packed her bag. Music box, book, hair, hand sanitizer, flashlight, matches. She needed matches. Margot hurried to the kitchen and grabbed a box of matches from the cupboard. Once she returned to her room, she looked at the cat. Are you ready? The cat followed along beside her. Margot figured the best place to do this would be out in the desert. They returned to the car where Margot first found the book. Margot crouched down in the sand and laid out the necessary items. She coiled the hair around the dancer. Its little sword still had her dried blood on it. She breathed in, pushed the raw spot in her hand down its edge. Again, she bit her lip in pain. The new blood on it, she turned the key to let it play. Set it on fire? Yup. The final step. She struck one of the matches. For a moment she paused, watching the flame slowly travel down the stick. What was about to happen? Was this right? She didn't understand the situation, but she dropped the match onto the music box. It quickly caught fire. With everything set in motion, Margot looked at the cat in front of her. The cat's pupils were wide. The flames reflected in her eyes. The flame grew bigger. Margot couldn't look away. She couldn't look away from the cat's eyes. Around them, the world seemed to disappear. The fire petered out. The stars, the distant lights dotting the mountains, everything was gone. There were only things left. The cat flinched and yowled. Her eyes grew bigger, seemingly bursting from her skull. Her shoulder blades and joints stretched, the surrounding fur tearing away to hang slack from her body. Raw bone and muscle jutted out. The yowls gave way to human screams. Margot desperately wanted to look away. She had to look away, but she didn't. The smell was sickening, like burning and rot. Fresh skin bloomed across the exposed muscles. No. No, no, no. The girl stayed hunched over, holding her stomach. She started to cough and gurgle. She vomited. Chunks of bone and coagulated blood landed on the void between them. This isn't right.
Right.
She wheezed out the words between sputters. Her gaze moved from the ground to Margot's face. Tears and blood ran down her face. Her hair stuck to the sweat on her forehead and neck.
Something went wrong.
Margot still couldn't move, react. Did I
do something wrong?
The words seemed to take all her strength. The girl stared at Margot, clenching her teeth. She tried to stand up, but fell back down. What did you do? I don't know. The girl crawled to the book and scrambled through the pages. As she moved, Margot noticed a large tattoo on her back. It was the same thing as the symbol in the book. The girl's eyes darted across each page. This can't be right. There has to be another reason. She shut the book and wobbled again to her feet. Her knees shook as she stumbled to Margot. Margot wanted to move away as the girl placed her hands on Margot's shoulders. Margot could still smell the blood on her. The girl closely inspected Margot's face. She turned away and started slowly walking. We're heading back. Margot came back to her senses. Wait, but you're... The girl shook her head. No one else can see me. Thanks to you, I hardly exist. The lights were still off. The girl locked herself in the bathroom. Margot went to her bedroom. She felt too shell-shocked to do anything besides sit on her bed and wait. The door cracked open. Margot quickly wiped her face. The girl walked in, then grabbed the book from Margot's bag. Margot quickly watched as she started flipping through it again. The girl looked from her book to Margot and back to her book. Finally, she looked up, visibly exasperated.
This is ridiculous.
I can only find one reason for this happening. I guess I'll start by asking, do you have a soul? What? I guess. I'm not dead or anything. The girl sighed to herself. Maybe your memory was erased. You could be reanimated. What? What's going on? What do you mean? You were a cat, and now you're human? And you're asking about my soul now? It's unimportant. What's your name? She looked at Margot, considering her answer.
Clara.
What happens now? That's why I'm looking at my notes. I'm trying to figure that out. In any case, I don't have a body now. I'm stuck. There was an abrupt yell. Margot's bedroom door flew open, slamming against the wall. You went through my things! She held a bowl in her hand. I needed to eat. All day I'm on my feet, and then I have to come home to do dishes? I washed it. I have to redo them. And now you're going through my things? Do I need to put a padlock on my door? I needed to eat. You hid all the dishes in your room. You're a little piggy, that's the problem. I need you to get up and wash this. It's already clean. She approached Margot's bed and grabbed her hair. Oh, we fighting back. Margot shoved her away. Her mother crumpled to the ground. She started screaming. Don't you lay a finger on me. You're 18 now. Next time, I will call the police. Then you're out of here. She got up, clutching the bowl. You can kiss college goodbye. She slammed the door shut. In a daze, Margot collapsed onto her bed. Her scalp throbbed. Her ears were ringing. Through the thin walls, she could hear the sink in the kitchen running. The sound of her mother cursing over and over under her breath about what would happen next time. All Margot could do was wait for it to end. Clara was gone again, just like when she was a cat. June 27th, Wednesday morning. In the morning, Margot quickly got ready. There was no sign of the cat. Or was it Clara now? She wasn't hungry. She rushed past her mother in the living room and headed to work. She didn't want to give herself a moment alone with her mother, or time to think about the night before. She had to keep her mind off of things. She had to compartmentalize. Thinking about the blood, the screaming, she couldn't let herself lose focus. Forcing herself to forget about her troubles is what got her into private school, after all. She sifted through paperwork. Her free hand combed through her hair, finding more loose clumps. She didn't realize how hard her mother had pulled at her hair. A sizable amount piled up on the floor next to her. Would it leave her with a bald spot? Yet another permanent visible scar? Another thing she needed to distract herself from. She closed the file on the desk. Maybe she could try talking to a resident. Margot and Erica sat with one of the residents in the lounge. Gina, this is Margot. She's helping me out for the summer. Oh, nice to meet you. I don't know if you've heard about this, Margot, but Gina's receiving a Congressional Gold Medal next month.
Huh?
What's that? It's the highest civilian award. She was in the WASP program. Gina waved her hand. Margot politely smiled, not wanting to ask 2 questions in a row. Erica, you bragged about me to everyone here. It's impressive. It makes you a celebrity. Gina chuckled. I just did what I had to do. Margot shyly listened as the two bantered. Come by. Where? The restaurant. You never told me the name. Why didn't you say something? Margot sighed. She was conflicted. If she went home, maybe she could talk to Clara again. She could find out what's going on. However, she didn't want to be around her mother. Maybe if she spent enough time out, her mother would already be gone or asleep when she came home. Margot walked into the restaurant. There was a small hole in the wall near work. She looked around and found Lee sitting in a booth. He nodded at her. She breathed in. Hopefully he would be in a better mood today than when he was at the movie. She sat down across from him. I was starting to think I got stood up. Sorry again for leaving early. It's fine, Lee grumbled to himself. There's some crazy chicks out there. I thought you left because of a work call. Lee shrugged. I'll make it up to you. I'll get dinner, okay? I get a discount. Okay. He ordered their food. How's your job going? Fine, I talked to the resident today. So you get to hang out with people all day? Sounds easy. I don't think that's fair. This is your first job, right? You don't know how hard it can be. I think I'll have to quit this job pretty soon. Why? Didn't you just start? Yeah, but I don't think I'm getting paid enough. They want me to take drug tests. I don't want to deal with all that. Their food arrived. They sat in silence. Lee briefly looked up at Margot. Why do you keep messing with your hair? Her hand was still running through her hair, pulling out more loose strands. She folded her hands in her lap. I'm just tired. Margot wanted to change the subject. Looking at Lee, she noticed he was wearing a necklace with a pentacle on it. Is your necklace new? Yeah, got it at a head shop that opened like a month ago. Have a bunch of crystals and stuff. Huh. Like New Age stuff? Was it what happened with Clara? Was it magic? You into that now? Yeah, you should start going to church with me again. I'm just wondering. Speaking of, I found a weird Bible. How is it weird? Had a bunch of handwritten notes in it. Well, if it's a Bible, can't be anything that weird. Margot picked at her food, pulling it apart. I guess not. You still living at home? For now, yeah. I got an apartment. Margot smiled. You've been trying to get one for a while, right? Yeah, finally saved up enough for a deposit. Margot's mind wandered from home to Clara. Maybe that store would have something that could help Clara? Clara needed Margot to get a music box in the first place. Maybe there were things that she would need for a spell or something that would fix whatever happened. Was it real? Was any of it real? You can come over after this. Check out my new place. Margot grimaced. Maybe another time. Margot came home and went straight into her room. She wasn't happy about how dinner went. Lee's wallet went missing after she said she didn't want to see his apartment. But she did learn something useful. Margot jumped in surprise. Hey. You're back! I can't go very far. Well, I had an idea. Oh? Apparently there's a store here that sells crystals and things. Maybe I could see if there's something useful for you? Like when I got the music box for you. Clara furrowed her eyebrows. I want to help.
Oh?
Why? Yeah, it seems like something bad happened to you. You asked me in that dream to help you, right? So that's what I want to do. So then I owe you? No, nothing like that. Clara paced around the room for a moment, thinking over what to do. The first thing I need to do is see if you even have a soul. Get a clear quartz disc from that store of yours. And I need an instant camera. Okay. Clara stopped in front of the door. That's enough for you to start with. Let me know when you have the materials. With that, she was gone. And we haven't heard from Beck for a few days. Margot needed to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting. She knew she needed to get the quartz for Clara, but why? How would she have or not have a soul? How did that work? All Margot could think of was fairy tales about people selling their soul to the devil. She sighed to herself. After what she'd seen this week, maybe those stories didn't seem so outlandish. There was a knock at the door.
Heya!
Oh, speak of the devil, as it were. How's work?
Hi.
Good right now. Do you need help? Not really. My mom is here for a visit. Thought I'd stop by, see if you're free today. I wanted to check out downtown. Sure, that sounds fun. Beck smiled. Great. I'll see you later then. With that, she left. Margot met with Gina in the lounge. Margot, so nice to see you again. Though you were rather quiet last time.
Sorry.
I had some questions, but I didn't want to interrupt. What's on your mind? Margot twisted her hair between her fingers. I don't know a lot about the military. What's a WASP? Erica said that was a big accomplishment? Oh, it stands for Women Air Force Service Pilots. We were a group that helped the Air Force during World War II. Oh, wow! Well, what sort of things did you do? Mainly transportation and target practice. Target practice? Yes, I towed the targets for the anti-aircraft gun practice.
Seriously?
After talking for a while, Margot checked the time. She had to get ready to head out. Feel free to talk anytime. And so you know, I used to be a teacher. So don't be shy about asking questions next time. Margot smiled. I'll do my best. Margot and Beck met up and walked around the square. There weren't many shops, and neither of them recognized any of the stores. I didn't expect so many new places to open. I think it's probably a cycle of stores closing and getting replaced. Ugh. Sorry, dry skin. Dry skin underneath the bridge of my glasses. So it was like... It's sad, you know? Everyone I talked to has said they're looking forward to moving. Even the new mall looked empty. What do you think will happen to this town? I don't know. Weather here is miserable anyway. I'm not surprised people want to leave. Aren't you the one who keeps inviting me to do stuff outside? I can't help that I like the outdoors. Around the corner, Margot saw a shop with an unusually flashy display. Tapestries and crystals were displayed in the front window. Was this the place Lee mentioned? A store called Kokapelli with Buddhist prayer flags in the window? Hate these kinds of places. Same, Beck. Yeah. Feels kinda like applying Pascal's wager to everything. Looked like any other generic New Age store. Margot wasn't surprised, considering Lee seemed to like the place, but she was disappointed. Maybe this store wouldn't be helpful after all. She felt too anxious to go in anyway. As shops started to close, it became noticeably quieter outside. They went to a nearby park, charting at one of the Ramadas.
Roll up your jeans.
Huh?
I want to check something. Beck rolled up her jeans. There was a large scar. Margot complied and rolled up her jeans. Her knees were covered in several small scars. I mentioned it when we were texting. When we were kids, I wanted to touch knees so we could be blood bonded. And because you thought I was a vampire. Of course, the most important part. A blood bond. Margot wondered if what she did for Clara could also be considered a blood bond.
Immortality. Do you think it did anything?
Well,
Maybe it brought us back together. Is that weird to think?
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it did bring us back together. I hadn't thought about it for years. But when my parents brought in mail, I used to ask them if I had a letter from you. Thought maybe one day you'd pop back up. Margot sighed to herself. How did I forget all of that stuff? You get older, it's silly kid stuff, you move on. Beck smiled. I thought about you too. Yeah? I worried about you. What do you mean? Beck shook her head. It's nothing. Well, they were on the topic of blood bonds. Margot desperately wanted to talk to Beck about the Clara situation. I'm so sorry that picked up. Oops. Oopsie. She wanted anyone to talk to so she could wrap her head around what happened. Hey, I've been meaning to ask you. What's up? Why were you so freaked out by that cat the other day? Alright, Beck, this is your chance to clear your name. How do I explain? You know how sometimes dogs have human eyes? Sure. That's what that cat was like. The cat was like a dog with human eyes? Yes, exactly. Margot came home. In her room, Clara sat neatly on the floor, legs folded under her, looking through her book. She turned to look at Margot. Have anything for me?
No.
Not yet. I did scope out the store. Margot sat down next to Clara. I don't know if it'll be helpful. Would you want to go with me to check? I want to make sure I get the right thing. Clara shrugged. If you bring my book with you, I can. But... She looked away. I don't feel comfortable being outside in this body. You said no one else can see you, right? Well, it doesn't change how I feel. I'm still getting used to being human again. How long were you a cat? Clara shook her head. Another time. Okay. Clara turned her attention back to her book. Clara furrowed her brow. Is this magic? The stuff with the music box, your book?
Oh, no.
That's far too condensed an understanding of what's going on. So what is it? 18 years. 18. Oh! That's how long you were a cat? Yes. Margot was taken aback. Since I was a baby. We're not even born yet. Yes. So how old are you then? Clara seemed to be fully focused on her book again. June 19th. Margot sat with Gina before lunch. Sometimes I get visits from former students. It's lovely seeing them grow up, start families, accomplish some wonderful things. Speaking of that, do you have any plans for Father's Day? Is that today? No, that'll be Sunday, honey. It hasn't come up, I guess. Father's Day is on Sunday. It's never on a Friday. Okay, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Margot sat quietly for a moment, speaking of a way to change the subject. Oh, I just remembered. Could I ask for a favor? Of course. What is it? Lately, I've been thinking about things I still want to learn. There's a book I'd like to borrow from the library. Could you see if that's possible? Sure. Margot wrote down the name of the book to pass on to Erica later. After work. Margot stood outside of the shop. She had to get over her shyness. She had to do this. She was responsible for what happened to Clara after all. After taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. Margot glanced around the store. Let me know if you need help finding anything. The store owner looked exactly how Margot expected. White. A few bits and bobs of turquoise jewelry, a little sunburn with a tattoo peeking out from her shirt. She glanced around. She didn't immediately see what Clara needed. Did she even know what quartz looks like? Do you have clear quartz? In a disc shape? I'll check. I don't usually get such specific requests. It's for a craft project. Store owner nodded and went to the back to check. Margot shifted from foot to foot. She glanced around. There were some teas, some books, and a confusing assortment of international items. What sort of books were there? Lucky you! She placed the disc on the counter for Margot. In her room, Margot glanced down at Clara's book. She'd stopped carrying it with her so Clara could have time alone to study. Should be fine while both her and her mother are at work, right? Margot looked around. No sign of Clara. How was she supposed to get a hold of her? Margot set her bag down on her bed and pulled the quartz
Clara?
out. There was a voice behind her.
Yes?
You have it. Margot turned around. You're here! Clara stepped beside her and picked up the quartz. She held it up, examining the light coming through it. This will do. Do you have a camera? Margot thought for a second. I think my dad had an old instant camera in the shed. Clara walked to the door. Margot felt a jolt of fear. She didn't know when her mother would be home. Are you sure no one else can see you? Yes. What about hearing you? No. They can't hear you talking to me either. How? Clara walked out the door. Clara and Margot carefully looked through the boxes of old art supplies. Huh. She held up a book to Clara. Someone at work mentioned this to me today. Maybe I should read it? Clara briefly glanced over at Margot before continuing to look through the box in front of her. Barbo Thodel, what is it? Margot glanced down at the book in her hand. I don't know. My dad has a bunch of stuff like this. Back in Margot's room, Clara disassembled the camera. So your father was an artist? Sort of. She pieced it back together, the quartz serving as a lens. After assessing her work, she pointed the camera at Margot. Smile! Margot glanced up as Clara snapped a picture. The photograph paper popped out. Clara set the picture down on the nightstand to develop. What does the quartz do? Something like spirit photography. Clara picked up the picture and examined it. Margot looked over her shoulder. It had finished developing, but it was strange. Maybe the paper was too old? It had Margot, caught in a candid pose. Her face was covered with an unusual flower. It reminded her of the passion flowers she saw in the park with Beck. Around her, it looked like the creases in the photo paper were bleeding. In a way, it reminded her of arms. Clara muttered to herself,
Oh, no.
That can't be right. She laid the photograph back down and went to her book. Margot waited. Why didn't you tell me?
What?
This is a demon's imprint. You don't have a soul after all. That's why it didn't work. Clara turned to Margot. You thought I wouldn't find out? Hey, slow down. We're all finding stuff out right now. I didn't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. Maybe there's a way to get it back, or construct a new one. Ah, we need one so I can have a body. Clara looked off into the distance, her voice getting quieter and quieter. If I could find him, he would know what to do. Margot looked at Clara. Should I be worried? Clara snapped her attention back to Margot.
Yes.
I need to do more research. Take me to the library as soon as you can. Okay, I can do that. In the meanwhile, be very cautious with the book. Margot nodded. I need to make sure you don't die. Otherwise, we both face nothingness. Okay.